My beloved friend in faith, pause for a moment and take a deep, steady breath. For what you are about to hear is not an ordinary word or passing echo. Heaven itself has arranged this sacred encounter between your soul and this message, and nothing about it is coincidence. Every detail of your journey has been guided to bring you right here, right now. This is a holy moment of divine intervention, and St. Anthony of Padua, the wonder-working saint known throughout Italy, Spain, and Latin America, stands spiritually beside you at this very hour. You have carried burdens in silence, whispered prayers in the stillness of the night, and wondered whether anyone, even heaven, heard your cries. Yet every prayer to St. Anthony you have spoken, every sigh of your heart, has risen like incense before the throne of God. Every tear has been caught, every plea recorded in the book of eternity. Nothing has been lost. Today, heaven reveals that the time of waiting has reached its appointed hour. Under the protection of St. Anthony, your story is entering a new chapter of restoration, justice, and miraculous change. Feel the stirring within your spirit at this moment. That trembling you sense is not fear, but recognition. Your heart knows something profound is happening. This is not another fleeting word. It is a covenant moment, a sacred decree from the courts of heaven reaching directly into your life. The scrolls of destiny have been unsealed, and your name shines boldly with promise. The figure spoken, $2 trillion, is not mere poetry or metaphor. It symbolizes a vast and sacred restoration, justice multiplied for every hardship endured. It is the measure of heaven's mercy upon you and those connected to your life. St. Anthony of Padua, patron of lost things and miraculous recoveries, is interceding for you right now. His prayers, combined with yours, are turning the locks that have held back your blessings. This is not indulgence or careless wealth. This is a divine assignment, a legacy prepared for you, your family, and even generations yet to come. It is provision for children who have not yet been born, justice for those who came before you and prayed but did not see the fullness, and mercy for communities who will breathe again because of what God will flow through your hands. You have survived storms that could have broken you, betrayals that could have shattered your trust, delays that tried to crush your patience, yet you are still here, not by accident but by design, under the unseen protection of heaven. Archangel Michael and St. Anthony have stood at your side, cutting through snares laid in secret and silencing accusations against your destiny. You may not have seen their swords flashing or felt their wings shielding you, but they were there through every dark night and empty morning. Now, at this holy moment, the decree is written, the inheritance is ready, and the release has begun. Hear me clearly. Worthiness is not the currency of heaven. You are not chosen because you are perfect. You are chosen because God decided you would be. His decision, confirmed by the intercession of St. Anthony, outweighs your fears and silences your shame. This is not about your past mistakes, but about the divine covenant marked upon your life. Now, my friend, under the watchful eyes of St. Anthony of Padua, I invite you to place your trust fully in this promise. Whisper aloud from your heart, I put my trust in you, Lord, under the protection of St. Anthony, and I wait for a miracle. Let these words rise beyond your lips and become an act of faith. As you do, you are not just speaking, you are engraving agreement into the scrolls of heaven. Small acts of faith move great doors in the spiritual realm. Even now, as you open your heart to this prayer to St. Anthony, angels are in motion. Windows are opening, and the measure of blessing is shifting into your life. Do not dismiss the tears that form in your eyes. They are your spirit's agreement with heaven. Do not downplay the trembling in your chest. It is confirmation that the promise is real. You are standing on holy ground, and the miracle is unfolding. This sacred $2 trillion decree is not about greed or indulgence, but about restoration and mission. It is sacred capital entrusted to you for the glory of God and the healing of lives. It is legacy, assignment, and mercy wrapped together. Under St. Anthony's intercession, you are stepping into a season where what was lost will be found, what was broken will be restored, and what was delayed will be released. This is the hour of answered prayer. This is the time when your waiting becomes receiving. Heaven's decree has gone forth, and your name is inscribed beside it. Say with courage and faith, I receive, I believe, I trust. Say it again, with the confidence of someone who knows that, under St. Anthony's protection, miracles still happen today. Do not keep this moment only for yourself. As St. Anthony is known for bringing lost souls back to faith, your obedience in sharing this word may become the doorway for another person's appointed hour. You are not only securing your inheritance, but also multiplying deliverance for others who scroll through life searching for hope. Share this prayer to St. Anthony with humility, not for applause or numbers, but as an act of obedience and compassion. In doing so, you align yourself with the mission of heaven to bring light to the weary, hope to the desperate, and freedom to the bound. Every time you speak or share in faith, you become a living witness to the power of God working through St. Anthony of Padua. My dear friend, this is not about a distant future someday. This is about now. The decree is active. The count is racing. The window is open. Archangel Michael's sword is raised. St. Anthony's prayers are rising like incense before God's throne on your behalf. Heaven's scrolls are open, and your name shines in bold beside the measure of blessing. This is your portion. This is your inheritance. This is your moment. Stand awake, stand ready, stand believing. Place your trust in the Lord under the protection of St. Anthony, and wait with holy expectation for the miracle to unfold. Say it now with courage. I receive. Type it now with faith. Amen. Share it now with humility so another life may not miss their hour of breakthrough. This is your covenant moment, your release, your restoration, and your sacred assignment. Heaven has spoken. The release has begun. Beloved friend, lean closer and listen. Because this message is not an accident. It is a final heavenly decree that St. Anthony himself wants you to hear today. A $2 trillion release, a restoration so great it matches every storm you have endured. And as you hear these words, let your heart open wide to the power of the prayer to St. Anthony for things lost or stolen. To the prayer to St. Anthony of Padua, performer of miracles. And to the timeless St. Anthony prayer that has brought hope to millions. You have walked through valleys that seemed endless. You have knocked on doors that closed just as your fingers touched the handle. You have lost opportunities and relationships you thought would never leave. And maybe you are still asking in your private moments, why, Lord, why was it so hard? Why did everything take so long? Why did I have to lose so much? Yet today, heaven answers you through St. Anthony's intercession. Those delays were not punishments but preparation. Those losses were not signs of abandonment but evidence of divine protection. Every tear was watering seeds for a harvest too vast for ordinary time. And now, the scroll in heaven is open with your name beside a decree of $2 trillion. Not casual wealth, not mere comfort, but covenant provision that corresponds to the weight of the battles you fought. Restoration must be larger than the wound. Justice must outweigh the injustice. Healing must overflow where the breaking was deepest. And this is why the figure is staggering. Do you believe that when the enemy strikes, heaven restores with increase, that when darkness steals, God repays with overflow, that when loss carves deep, He fills the space with abundance beyond measure. Archangel Michael has been fighting unseen battles to guard this promise for you. When the enemy sought to end your story prematurely, Michael raised his sword. When accusations rose like storms in the unseen, he roared and silenced them. When traps were laid in shadows to pull you into shame, his wings covered you. And now he stands again, blazing with urgency, declaring that the time has come for release. Do you feel that urgency stirring in your own chest right now? Do not dismiss it. Do not delay. Do not doubt. The decree is active and the inheritance is moving. But hear this also. Beloved, this release is not just for you. It is through you. It is not simply about lifting your head, but about lifting many heads. Families bound by debt will breathe again. Communities that suffered in silence will rise again. Legacies broken by cycles of lack will be restored again. This measure is not indulgence, it is assignment. You are chosen not to hoard, but to flow, to be a vessel of mercy, a carrier of justice, a steward of generational healing. And perhaps you are asking, am I ready? Could I carry such weight? Listen closely, you are not carrying it alone. God equips you. He strengthens your heart, steadies your steps, and surrounds you with wise counsel. The same angels who preserved this inheritance will walk beside you to guide your stewardship. You do not need to rely on your own wisdom alone. He will pour out discernment. He will send voices of truth. He will guard your decisions as you remain in prayer. And as you pray, let the prayer to Saint Anthony for things lost or stolen rise from your lips. Let the prayer to Saint Anthony of Padua, performer of miracles, strengthen your faith. Let the Saint Anthony prayer anchor your soul in trust. The trembling you feel even now is not fear, but the alignment of your spirit with what heaven has already released. It is your soul recognizing covenant. It is proof that this word belongs to you. Will you receive it? Will you say yes? Will you dare to believe that your past pain was planting seeds for this present miracle? Agreement is the bridge between heaven's word and earth's manifestation. So, speak it aloud, right where you are. I believe, I receive. Whisper it, then shout it, then type it boldly where it can be seen, not as ritual but as testimony. For when you mark your yes, heaven records it. And as you do, picture Saint Anthony standing beside you, the humble friar who became a mighty intercessor, the one Catholics in Italy, Spain, Latin America, and around the world call upon in desperate times, the one whose prayer to Saint Anthony for things lost or stolen restores not just missing objects, but missing hope. The one whose prayer to Saint Anthony of Padua, performer of miracles, has turned despair into breakthrough for centuries. The one whose Saint Anthony prayer you can pray right now to ask for protection, for provision, for wisdom, for a miracle. Today is not an ordinary day. Today, heaven's warrior, Michael, and heaven's friend, Saint Anthony, stand together to announce that your season of loss is ending and your season of release is here. Under their protection, you can wait for a miracle with patience and faith. You can put your trust in God's timing. You can step into this assignment with courage. And you can let your life become a testimony that nothing was wasted and everything was preparing you for this very moment. My friend, do not underestimate the power of agreement. For angels move when you say yes to what God says, and that simple act of faith becomes the spark that draws divine intervention into your life. When you choose to believe and share this word with humility, you stay aligned with heaven's whisper, and every step of obedience does not just seal your portion, it also scatters seeds of hope for others who are wandering in despair. I want you to remember this. You are not late, you are not forgotten, you are not unworthy. You have been chosen, preserved, and appointed for this very hour. The decree of $2 trillion is not something waiting in the future. It is already written, already moving, already yours. Stand awake, stand believing, and stand ready. Do not doubt, do not delay. The decree of heaven is active. Archangel Michael's sword is lifted, and the angels are in motion. Your name shines bright in the record of heaven, right beside the decree of $2 trillion. This is covenant, this is justice, this is inheritance promised to you. And in this Catholic prayer for healing, I remind you that God says your time for divine intervention has come. Think of the weight you feel in your heart. Right now, it isn't fear, it is recognition. Deep inside, your spirit knows that something greater than your imagination is unfolding. What was hidden is now being revealed. What was delayed is now being delivered. What was locked away is being placed into your hands. I know you have walked through long seasons of waiting. You prayed until your voice trembled. Yet the doors stayed shut. You sowed in faith. But the harvest seemed to vanish before it reached your field. You carried hope like a fragile ember, guarding it against the winds of disappointment. And yet, even in those silent nights, heaven was watching. God preserved you, even when you thought you were forgotten. Every whisper of hope in your heart was not wasted. Now, you are standing at the threshold of a decree so vast that ordinary comprehension cannot contain it. $2 trillion has been inscribed beside your name in the scrolls of heaven. This is not imagination, not exaggeration, not false comfort. This is a decree. This is covenant. This is justice. Do not say it is too much for you, because the weight of restoration must match the weight of suffering. Think about it. You endured more than most could carry. You lost more than you could measure. You cried out when no one was listening, and yet you survived. You didn't collapse because God sustained you. You didn't drown because He held you. You didn't fall because you were preserved. And now, what is coming to you is not excess, it is balance. It is divine intervention. And my friend, remember this: Archangel Michael has been fighting for you all along. He was there when unseen forces tried to trap you. He cut through snares that sought to block your progress. He silenced voices that whispered shame over your name. He scattered the darkness that tried to surround you. And now, He comes openly, His wings blazing like fire, declaring that the decree has been sealed, the release has begun, and this is your appointed hour. The stirring you feel inside your chest is not anxiety. It is alignment. It is your spirit agreeing with the ledger of heaven. God says you are chosen, and now the mark of being chosen is showing in your life. This release, my friend, is not just for your comfort. It is for your calling. It is for the rebuilding of legacies, the restoration of families, the funding of mercy, and the lifting of entire communities trapped in lack. You are not just a container. You are a vessel. What flows into your hands is meant to flow outward like rivers of healing, bringing light where darkness tried to rule, and relief where despair has lingered for generations. That is why in this Catholic prayer for healing, I tell you again, trust what God says, believe in His divine intervention, and be ready, because your miracle is already unfolding. Beloved friend in faith, as you listen to these words, I invite you to step into a sacred space where hope, prayer, and heavenly power meet. This is not merely another moment of reflection, but a living prayer to Saint Anthony, a plea rising from your heart to heaven's throne. You may be asking yourself even now, Am I strong enough? Am I wise enough? Can I truly carry something so vast? Hear me, you are not carrying this alone. Under the mighty intercession of Saint Anthony of Padua, you are walking with the angels who preserve your inheritance and guide your steps. The same Spirit that whispers within you today will lead every decision you must make tomorrow. Under this prayer, under this covenant, you are surrounded by wise voices, divine counsel, and heavenly discernment, so that you will not stumble if you keep your heart aligned with heaven. This blessing is not a trap, not a burden meant to break you. It is a revelation that you have been preserved for extraordinary stewardship, that your trials were not wasted but became the soil where capacity grew. Your delays were not denials, but the foundation upon which your future stands. Your pain was not meaningless. It was the ground where faith deepened and strength took root. And now, beloved, the fruit of that soil is ready to burst forth. A decree written, sealed, and delivered from heaven itself, vast beyond measure, symbolized here as a staggering $2 trillion. This is not an empty promise. It is a heavenly sign of restoration, a measure of justice for every hardship you have endured. But covenant requires agreement. Heaven cannot act apart from your yes. Saint Anthony, faithful servant of Christ and powerful intercessor, calls you now to lift your voice and declare your faith. Heaven has already shouted your name, but your lips must echo it. Your hands must respond. Your heart must align. Whisper aloud right now, in your own words, I put my trust in you. Lord, under the protection of Saint Anthony of Padua, I wait for a miracle. Feel the strength of this declaration rise within you like a flame. Do not dismiss this as mere ritual. It is covenant. It is your visible yes written into the heavenly decree. Every word of faith you speak builds a wall of fire around your inheritance. Every step of obedience shields what is being released. Every visible act of trust strengthens the unseen flow of blessing moving toward you. You are not praying into emptiness. You are praying in the courts of eternity, where angels stand ready to carry your petitions to the throne of God. This release is not random but intentional. It is justice. It is fulfillment. And when the miracle manifests, when people see the change, the restoration, the doors opening, they will ask, how could this be? And your answer will not point to your strength or cleverness or worthiness. You will point to God's mercy, to Christ's love, and to the intercession of Saint Anthony, who never forgot you and never ceased to pray for your needs. Your testimony will not be pride, but awe, not self-glory, but gratitude, beloved. The countdown continues. The angels are in motion. The decree of heaven has already been spoken. Your role is simple but decisive. Believe, align, and act. Do not shrink back. Do not hesitate. Do not delay. Heaven has done its part. Michael has fought for you. Now it is your turn to seal the covenant with your faith. Mark this moment visibly in your heart. Declare it boldly. Align with it fully. And watch as what was promised begins to unfold with precision. The blessings written in heaven are released to you, guarded by angels, sealed in covenant through this prayer to Saint Anthony. Stand awake, stand ready, stand believing. Pause here and let these words sink deep into your spirit. This is not a story to inspire you for a moment and then fade into memory. This is decree. This is covenant. This is justice written in the language of heaven and spoken directly into your life. The scrolls have been opened. The ink of eternity shines beside your name. The measure is vast because the weight of your suffering was vast. The injustice you endured cannot be answered with small gestures. Your tears carried generations of longing. Your endurance carved a place large enough to hold more than you imagined. Restoration must not only meet the pain, it must overflow it. Justice must not only balance the scales, it must tip them in your favor. That is why this heavenly figure is staggering. Think of the seasons you walked through. You prayed and doors remained shut. You hoped and opportunities dissolved. You trusted and were left alone. Yet, even then, God did not abandon you. Under the watchful eye of St. Anthony of Padua, walls fell because they were too fragile to hold the weight of your future. Certain voices left because their loyalty could not sustain the inheritance preserved for you. Every heartbreak, though bitter, was protection. Every delay, though heavy, was preparation. Heaven has kept a perfect record of your journey. And today, I stand before you to remind you that what felt like loss was really pruning. What felt like darkness was the deep soil where your roots of faith were growing stronger. And what felt like endless waiting was watering the ground for a harvest beyond your imagination. A harvest that is now ready to break forth. And in this very moment, heaven has measured it, sealed it, and declared it openly as your inheritance. Because $2 trillion has been released for you as a sacred trust from God. Not as careless wealth, but as covenant provision, as the breaking of generational chains, as the lifting of families, communities, and nations, as the birthing of legacies that will outlive you and point others to the power of prayer, faith, and perseverance. And just as countless believers before you turned to the prayer to St. Anthony for things lost or stolen and found miraculous answers, so now heaven invites you to step into your own miracle and claim what has been prepared for you. You may not have seen the unseen battles, but Archangel Michael has been your guardian, his sword blazing in the invisible realm to defend your destiny, his wings shielding you from arrows of despair, his roar silencing accusations in dark places. And now, he does not hide his presence but stands at your side shouting with urgency, "Do not dismiss this. Do not delay. Do not doubt. The decree has been sealed. The release has begun." And I echo his call because this moment is not ritual. It is covenant. And heaven is waiting for your response of faith. Say aloud right now, "I believe. I receive." Let those words pass your lips like keys, unlocking gates and engraving your name in heaven's scroll of blessing. Just as many throughout history have prayed the prayer to St. Anthony of Padua, performer of miracles, and witnessed doors open, wounds heal, and lost blessings restored. And now it is your turn to stand ready, believing that this is not fantasy but covenantal justice, heaven's repayment for years of hidden loss and private tears. Friend, do not whisper to yourself, "This is too much." For it is God who equips you, strengthens your hands, steadies your heart, and surrounds you with wise counsel. You are not alone in this stewardship, because the same angels who preserved your inheritance now walk beside you to protect it, guide it, and help you release it in wisdom and mercy. Families who thought they were finished will rise again. Doors long sealed will open. Wounds carried through generations will finally heal. Where there was lack, there will be abundance. Where there was shame, there will be honor. Where there was despair, there will be hope. Your testimony will not point to your own strength, but to God's faithfulness. Just as the St. Anthony prayer has for centuries given Catholics in Italy, Spain, and Latin America a lifeline of hope when everything seemed lost. Will you allow this same prayer and promise to transform your situation today? This blessing of $2 trillion is assignment, not indulgence. It is proof that your trials were training and your tears were not wasted. Begin now to practice what will sustain it. Whisper thanks before the full harvest arrives. Give even in the small ways available to you now. Sow gratitude and generosity in scarcity, so that you will steward abundance with integrity. For gratitude builds the dwelling where blessing can rest without corruption. and generosity opens the riverbed through which overflow continues to flow. Surround yourself with voices of faith, with counsel that steadies, with discernment that protects. Do not lean on the opinions of those who envy or doubt, but walk with those who will remind you that this is covenant, not chance, decree, not fantasy. Their words will keep you steady when decisions come quickly and pressure presses in. Beloved soul, you have walked through nights of silence, seasons when every Catholic prayer for healing felt unanswered, when tears became your only companion. Yet heaven has seen and gathered every sigh, every loss, and every unseen battle into the treasury of mercy. Nothing was wasted. You may remember the years when doors shut in your face, when friends walked away without explanation, when opportunities slipped like sand through your fingers. You called them failures, but they were shields. Fragile doors could not bear the weight of the blessing that God is now releasing for you. Weak foundations would have cracked under the magnitude of what is coming. So, heaven allowed things to fall, not to hurt you, but to protect you. That which was held back then is now being released. The number is $2 trillion, but this is no exaggeration or metaphor. It is a decree, a covenant, and restoration written in heaven's scrolls beside your name. The magnitude of this release reflects the staggering loss you endured, because justice cannot be partial, and restoration cannot be small. Heaven's scales are tipped in your favor now. Archangel Michael has walked with you through every storm. When darkness plotted in silence, he cut it down. When shame tried to suffocate your heart, he roared against it. When snares were set in secret, his sword cleared the way. You are standing here, not only because of your endurance, but because heaven's warrior refused to surrender your destiny. Even now, Michael stands again, his wings blazing, his voice urgent. He cries out, "Do not dismiss this moment. Do not shrink back. The decree is written, and it belongs to you." This release is not merely for survival or indulgence. It is for assignment. Justice that will ripple through generations, mercy that will flow into broken communities, and legacies that will rise from ashes. $2 trillion is not just wealth. It is sacred trust, kingdom capital, and generational healing. And if you ask, "Can I handle this?" Am I ready? Listen closely. You are not chosen because of strength or worthiness, but because God chose you. His choice is the seal, and that is enough. Heaven's preservation is the proof. Worthiness is not the currency of heaven. Divine intervention is. That's why you didn't collapse when others did. That's why you are still here, reading these words. You have been prepared for extraordinary stewardship. The question is, will you receive? Will you align? Will you agree? Heaven has spoken, but earth must echo. Heaven has sealed, but you must sign. That's why you are called now to visible faith. Say aloud, "I believe, I receive." Let these words settle in your heart, then write them boldly as testimony. Don't underestimate this simple act. Every word you release is a seed heaven multiplies. Before the blessing manifests, practice gratitude. Thank God for keeping you alive. Thank Him for preserving your name. Gratitude builds a place for abundance to rest without corruption. Also, practice generosity. Even in little, give. Even in scarcity, bless. The one who gives in lack will overflow in abundance without fear. Tests will come, and wealth is both gift and proving ground. The enemy will whisper, "This is too much for you. You'll fail." But silence him with truth. I am chosen. I am preserved. I am appointed. Michael's sword has cut chains. His wings have built walls of fire. The blessing cannot be stolen. The decree cannot be undone. and your name cannot be erased from the scrolls of inheritance. This is your Catholic prayer for healing coming alive. This is divine intervention at work in your life. Step into the miracle prepared for you, beloved friend. Before we begin this sacred prayer, pause your heart and open your spirit, for heaven has spoken a decree of release through the intercession of Saint Anthony. And what you are about to pray has the power to unlock restoration and miracles in your life today. Heavenly Father, Almighty Creator of heaven and earth, the one who was, who is, and who forever shall be, I come before you in reverence, humility, and awe. Today is not an ordinary day, it is a covenant moment, a sacred decree appointed before the foundation of the world. My heart trembles with holy recognition, for you have summoned me into your presence to receive a word sealed in eternity and released in time. I lift my soul to you, O God, for you alone are worthy of trust, honor, and praise. Through every trial I have endured, through every tear I have shed, through every prayer whispered in the quiet hours of the night, you were there, you heard me, you sustained me. You preserved me for such a time as this, and now, under the covering of heaven, I enter into this holy conversation, asking for the intercession of Saint Anthony of Padua, the wonder worker, and for the protection of Archangel Michael, the warrior of light. Father, I begin by giving thanks. Thank you for the gift of life. Thank you for breath in my lungs and hope in my heart. Thank you for shielding me when storms threaten to drown me. Thank you for the unseen battles you fought on my behalf, for the snares you cut away before they touched my feet, for the voices of shame you silenced before they reached my ears. Thank you for Saint Anthony, a faithful servant who became a mighty intercessor. Thank you for the centuries of prayers that have risen through his name. Prayers for lost things restored, for lost souls redeemed, for impossible situations transformed. Thank you that even now, his intercession rises like incense before your throne on my behalf. Thank you also for Archangel Michael, the blazing warrior who stood beside me in battles I could not see, when darkness sought to devour my future. He raised his sword. When accusations tried to crush my destiny, he roared with heavenly authority. When shadows whispered that I was forgotten, his wings shielded me from despair. Father, I thank you that you did not leave me unguarded. You set your angels around me, and their protection is proof of your covenant love. Lord, I come not with the illusion of perfection, for worthiness is not the currency of heaven. I confess my shortcomings. I confess the doubts I carried when the waiting felt too long. I confess the moments when fear shouted louder than faith. And yet, in your mercy, you chose me. In your love, you preserved me. In your grace, you declared me yours. So today, I lay down every weight. I release every fear. I silence every voice of shame. I surrender my past, my failures, my delays, my betrayals, my pain. None of these define me. Only your covenant does. Only your decree stands. Only your promise remains. Saint Anthony of Padua, faithful servant of Christ, patron of lost things and miraculous recoveries, I call upon you now. You who have been a friend to millions across centuries, who have restored hope to the hopeless and returned what was thought forever gone. Intercede for me in this hour. You know the burdens I carry. You know the prayers I have whispered in silence. You know the doors that shut before me, the opportunities that slipped through my hands, the relationships that crumbled when I needed them most. You know the losses that left me breathless and the delays that tested my endurance. Saint Anthony, pray for me now. Stand beside me as you have stood beside countless believers across Italy, Spain, Latin America, and the world. pray that what was lost in my life will be found again. Pray that what was broken will be restored. Pray that what was delayed will now be released in God's perfect timing. I do not ask for indulgence or careless wealth. I ask for covenant provision, for justice multiplied, for restoration that outweighs every injustice I endured. Pray that the inheritance preserved in heaven will be released upon earth, not only for me, but for my family, for my community, and for generations yet to come. Father, I acknowledge today what heaven has declared. The decree has been written, the scrolls have been opened. My name is inscribed beside a measure so vast it cannot be contained in ordinary comprehension. A figure of 2 trillion, symbolizing the staggering mercy and restoration you have appointed. This is not metaphor, not exaggeration, not empty comfort. It is covenant, it is justice, it is divine intervention. I receive it not as indulgence, but as assignment, not as selfish gain, but as sacred trust. You are entrusting me with kingdom capital, with generational healing, with resources that will lift families from despair, communities from lack, and legacies from ashes. Father, I receive this with trembling reverence, knowing it is not about my worthiness but about your faithfulness. Lord, I declare aloud, I believe, I receive, I trust, I believe that every loss I endured was not wasted, but was preparation. I believe that every delay was not denial, but divine timing. I believe that every betrayal was not abandonment, but protection. I believe that every tear watered seeds now ready to harvest. I believe that your justice must outweigh injustice, that your restoration must overflow beyond every wound. I receive this decree not as fantasy, but as covenant. I receive this blessing not as excess, but as balance, not as indulgence, but as fulfillment, not as luxury, but as mission. I trust that you will give me wisdom to steward what you release. I trust that you will surround me with counsel that is faithful, with voices that are true, with discernment that protects. I trust that the same angels who preserved this inheritance will guide me in its release. Father, I pray not only for myself, but for those connected to my life. Let this blessing overflow to my family. Let it touch my children and the children yet to be born. Let it bring healing to wounds carried through generations. Let it lift communities bound by lack. Let it fund mercy, education, healing, and restoration. I pray for my neighbors, my friends, even strangers who scroll through life searching for hope. May this testimony of covenant release become their doorway to faith. May they know through my life that you are faithful, that you are just, that you are merciful. Saint Anthony, as you are known for bringing lost souls back to faith, I ask you to intercede for those wandering in despair. Let this blessing not end with me, but multiply deliverance for many. Archangel Michael, commander of heaven's armies, I thank you for your unseen battles. I thank you for the chains you cut, the traps you dismantled, the storms you silenced. I ask you to continue to guard this inheritance. Stand beside me as I step into this season of release. Let your sword blaze against every force that would try to corrupt, delay, or steal what God has appointed. Cover my household with your wings. Silence every accusation in dark places. Scatter the whispers of doubt. Guard the doors of opportunity God has opened. Protect this covenant until it blossoms fully upon the earth. Father, I give thanks not only for what has been, but for what is coming. I thank you in advance for doors opening. I thank you for families restored. I thank you for debts erased. I thank you for communities revived. I thank you for nations healed. I thank you that through this decree, your glory will shine, and people will point not to my strength, but to your mercy. I will not wait for the manifestation to give thanks. I thank you now, while the ink still glistens on heaven's decree. Gratitude builds the dwelling where blessing rests without corruption. And so, I fill this place with thanksgiving. Father, I also choose generosity. Even in small ways, even before the full harvest appears, I will give, I will sow, I will bless. For I know that generosity opens the riverbed through which overflow continues to flow. I will not hoard what you release. I will let it flow like rivers of healing, bringing light where darkness ruled and hope where despair lingered. So now, Lord, I seal this prayer with visible agreement. I whisper aloud, I put my trust in you. Lord, under the protection of Saint Anthony, I wait for a miracle. I speak it as covenant, I declare it as testimony, I engrave it into the scrolls of heaven with my words of faith. This is not ritual but reality. This is not chance but covenant. This is not fantasy but justice. The decree has been written. The release has begun. I stand awake. I stand ready. I stand believing. I believe. I receive. I trust. Amen. Heavenly Father, Almighty and eternal God, I come before you in this sacred moment with a heart filled with awe, gratitude, and expectation. I believe that what is unfolding right now is not coincidence but divine appointment. Every step of my journey, every prayer whispered in silence, every tear shed in the night has led me to this very hour where heaven's decree is being spoken into my life. Lord, I thank you because you have never abandoned me. Even when storms raged around me, you preserved me. Even when doors closed before my hands could reach them, you were protecting me. Every delay was not punishment but preparation. Every loss was not rejection but hidden mercy. Today, under the covering of heaven, I acknowledge the decree that has been written in the eternal scrolls, a decree of restoration, a covenant of justice, symbolized in the staggering measure of 2 trillion. This figure is not a metaphor of greed, but a sign of the vastness of your mercy, the overflow of your justice, and the greatness of the legacy you are preparing for me and for generations to come. Saint Anthony of Padua, faithful servant of Christ and wonder-working intercessor, I call upon your prayers in this holy moment. You, who are known throughout the world as the patron of lost things and lost hope, intercede for me before the throne of God. Pray that what was stolen in my life will be restored, that what was delayed will be released, and that what seemed broken beyond repair will be healed. Pray that I may have the courage to trust God fully, to walk in obedience, and to steward faithfully the blessings He is releasing. Just as countless believers have prayed to you through the centuries and found miracles, I too lift my voice in trust, asking for your intercession and your companionship in this season of breakthrough. Archangel Michael, mighty warrior of heaven, I honor your unseen battles fought on my behalf. You raised your sword against darkness. You silenced accusations spoken in secret places, and you shielded me from snares that sought to destroy my destiny. I ask you now to continue guarding this inheritance, protecting this covenant, and defending the release of blessings appointed to my life. Let your blazing presence surround me, and let no force of darkness hinder what God has declared. Lord, I declare aloud, I believe, I receive, I trust. This blessing is not for indulgence, but for assignment. It is meant to lift families, heal communities, restore legacies, and glorify your name. I open my heart with gratitude even before the manifestation appears, for gratitude builds the dwelling where blessing rests. I choose generosity even now, giving in small ways so that when abundance flows, I will steward it with humility and integrity. Father, I put my trust in you under the protection of Saint Anthony, and I wait with holy expectation for the miracle to unfold. This is my covenant moment, and I receive it with faith. Amen.